My name is Elvira Bulata. I work in the management faculty. I teach marketing. Digital marketing is kind of the area I tend to say I'm specializing. Mostly my PhD was about technological transformation, so digital transformation of businesses. And obviously it's kind of normal to shift a bit and broaden and start looking into digital consumption as well, because everything what we do now is digitally informed, enabled. This particular project, I'm excited to talk about it, although I have to be a bit, kind of real, that this project really is not my idea. This project is the idea of my student. To start this talk, I wanted to go back to basic. This is me. A little girl, okay, born in, I will not tell you what year, but you could figure out, in a small Siberian town. It was -40s, kind of, back in the day, so it was one cold, normal -40-degree temperature winter day, December. Siberian town. And it was time when Russia, modern Russia, was still considered to be USSR. So essentially I was a product made in USSR. And obviously there was a transition. But really why I'm telling you about it is purely because USSR is obviously about communist ideology, and essentially this ideology is about being equal, being similar, being a hen gang, chicken gang. Everyone is the same. We dress the same, we do things the same, we have same education, equal opportunities, idealistically. Amazing, but obviously that meant that actually we all dress the same, and essentially we were all exposed to made in USSR brand. Obviously, nobody wanted to trade really with USSR, as well as the USSR didn't want to have any trading relationships with others. We were self-fulfilled, and that means, if you go to a store, you will have same type of dresses, okay, maybe with few different range of colors and prints, but not necessarily some way of self-expressing, you all will look the same. And essentially, back in days when I started my school, although at that time it wasn't USSR anymore, we all were wearing these dresses, brown dresses. I guess same what you do in UK, but obviously the ideology was much stronger behind it. This wasn't only within the school limit, it was taking place everywhere. And really, of course, we didn't see any difference, isn't it? But then, 1990s, wow, this is where this kind of madness started. Suddenly, the doors opened up, and we were exposed to content, obviously advertising content of products that are made in Russia, but then we also could get some access to Western content. And I don't know if any of you are from Russia or from USSR, maybe not made in USSR, but from the same Eastern Europe regions, you could probably little bit relate to this. So, okay, doors were open, advertising content is there, and actually, for me, of course, I don't know why, but Madonna was there, Vogue, all her songs, and I remember how people, it wasn't really on television, but people were sharing this video recordings of Madonna, and this is where we started to see different things, and we started to see that, clothes and jewelry and all these possessions can really help us to differentiate ourselves, and there isn't really a bad thing about it. You need to be different. And clothes and possessions help you to do so. And of course, godfather of advertising, Bernays, he was the one who said, okay, propaganda and all these advertising messages, which are not actually promoting utility of the goods, but trying to promote goods as a desirable object. They are there to stimulate people's desire to buy items and help them to use those possessions to tell what their identity is about. So it's not a new idea. And back in days, actually, the whole theory is not new. So it's not starting with advent of advertising. It actually goes back to 1989 when Veblen, American economist, although he's of Norwegian origin, he came up with this concept of conspicuous consumption. Also, he had an extension of it, conspicuous leisure. He was saying that, people, to be different and to adhere to certain statuses or maybe groups, societies, classes of people, they buy items, possessions, or maybe they use services, for example, education, having a degree in Harvard as opposed to having a degree in some Californian university. Those kind of possessions, leisure activities, services help us to demonstrate that we belong or we might want to belong to a certain social status, social group. So it's not a new idea, obviously, especially in the UK. It always was the case. This is a very diverse socially in terms of class society. Although now we're a democratized society, but still, back in days, the way people dress, even language. Yesterday I was I shouldn't talk about it, but in promotion interviews, and we could pick up, in people's language, the way they speak, and actually suggest that they belong to certain social class. So this whole idea obviously is not new. And we do this nowadays. And this is where this particularly was appropriate to link to luxury consumption, because some of the things that we buy in terms of luxury are not necessary items. We really don't need them, isn't it? They do not serve any purpose of utility. They are purely there just to be an additional item, just like on this image, It's enough. Why do you need to go to Primark every week, or why do you need to think about buying a new Chanel bag if you have already one? So it's the same kind of mentality. And what actually Veblen was implying is that people keep buying those items, and that results in materialistic type of behavior where they probably don't serve any purpose anymore. Lots of people nowadays refer to this kind of consumption as being mindless. All these people who buy luxury items are basically stupid, have lots of time on their hand, and, obviously they have purchasing power, some spare change. They're not caring much about the environment and all these things that morally we should be thinking about and spending money on. So basically mindless consumers. But is it true really? Not sure. And then of course with an advent of social media and democratization of conspicuous consumption, we really all become part of those experiences. It's not anymore behind closed doors. You all can have a taste of luxury lifestyle. And according to research and maybe personal experiences, I don't know if you would agree, by looking into someone's content, seeing that luxury kind of lifestyle, suddenly you realize that you're kind of part of it. At least you aspire to be part of it. At least, even if you don't want to be, there are some things that interest you. So essentially, social media drive huge interest towards luxury possessions amongst all classes of people. And this is what we refer in marketing to as aspirational consumption. Of course, in reality, those consumers not just aspirational, they're actually purchasing items, although infrequently. But, those are the consumers, they shouldn't be ignored by industry players because, in fact, those consumers contribute a lot in terms of profits to luxury goods, services industry. So obviously social media, where we want to present ourselves not really how we are in reality, but we want to present idealized version of ourselves, allows us to capture those different possessions, items, content, and show people a different side of us. To us, of course, we believe it's our true self-identity, but then to others, it will be a constructed identity using social media. And really, obviously, that changed my world. I am a social media user, although my Instagram is closed. So I have no idea, you see, I'm not extrinsically motivated to showcase my purchases. I'm not earning much, guys, to be honest. But obviously, growing up in USSR, when you only had this, one type of bag, and then your mom suddenly in 1990s realizes that she's in good industry business, and this is what, by the way, reason why we were in Siberia, because she was one of those people to study economics with oil specialization. So obviously she could make some money out of it. And then in 1990s she could really use her money and buy possessions to demonstrate, that she achieved something. She fulfilled ambitions. So obviously I became a baby of my mom, so I just continued doing. But social media, me and my mom are different in the way we consume luxury. Every time I buy something, I will post. Again, I have not many followers because it's closed door account. Not sure why I do it. Never thought about it actually. But probably to express myself, because I believe luxury is quality. And okay, high price tag obviously explains why we pay that kind of money. But then I believe it allows you to be different in a way, or maybe to belong to a different class or group of people who made it. I did it. I am successful. Maybe that was the reason. So of course, my luxury kind of portrayal of my luxury lifestyle or aspirations of being part of it starts with handbags, dining experiences, and that was part of my academic trip. Purchases of goods, simple stuff like this, and of course some other items. In a nutshell, I realized I am one of Henrys. And Henrys are different to, let's say, Generation X, who I will consider my mom to be. So Henrys, high earners, and high earners in relation to, parents. Your parents being your age, back in days, they didn't earn that kind of money. They didn't have same kind of lifestyle connections that you have. And that's the whole difference. So we are relatively earning more in comparison to our parents. We are obviously connected, and that connection comes with the whole social media technological aspect. We are confident. And again, confidence could come from social media as well, because obviously likes stimulate our confidence, You post a selfie, you get 5 likes in a few seconds, and suddenly you realize, I'm not too bad. If number of likes is not increasing, you think, okay, maybe I need to delete that content and post another selfie. So some people, and actually one of our research participants spends like 20 hours a day. 20 hours a day out of 24 thinking what content to post. Strange. So another important thing, of course, is that, although we are earning relatively okay, we're still not wealthy. So really, do we have to spend so much money on all of these useless possessions that in later might contribute to a worse future than our parents have at the moment, or worse situation, financial situation? But we are essentially Henrys, and I consider you to be one of those. Are really experienced people. We like sharing, and of course, sharing from social media affects our purchasing consumption as well. So if there is a popular product, suddenly you just realize you have to have one as well. So conspicuous consumption nowadays, although similar to the one of Veblen's theoretical understanding, still quite different, because not all of us are, for example, extrinsically motivated to showcase everyone what we bought and get this social approval from peers. Sometimes it could be different reasons. It could be about, building your own identity and kind of building your trajectory, your career using social media and using possessions. So we did the research and we conducted focus groups. So we had 20 participants in each of focus groups. And we actually had like a triangulated type of focus group. Actually, if you Google, not many people did it. And now, since we've done it, I understand why. Obviously, there are lots of ethical issues with conducting, WhatsApp focus groups, because you essentially requesting some personal type of information like phone number or email address to be in a group. But once you get through ethics, it's okay to do it. And theoretically, conceptually, WhatsApp should allow you to get some interesting data, insights into some interesting data using different type of content like images, emojis, maybe audio recorded comments. This is what we expected, but this is not what we got in this type of project actually. So we started with WhatsApp focus groups, and for 4 weeks we've been asking people about, firstly, about their motivations. So in week 1, in second week we talked about their experiences, and in third week we were specifically asking how actually influencers and bloggers affect their conspicuous consumption. We had 40 participants. Most of them were female. In fact, only 4 were male. Again, we can't really say why, because obviously there could be a bias because we contacted certain type of people. And those who said yes, were part of research. So maybe if we contacted a large sample, we could have more male participants. Because actually our data shows that there is no gender difference. However, females, I think it's like 3/4 of all the luxury purchases are done by females. So then it's understandable why females tend to like luxury items and display their possessions. So we've done focus groups, WhatsApp, and then we invited, and this is where we spent our £500, we invited all these participants to luxury afternoon tea, where we just wanted to dig deeper and understand exactly how they consume, what role social media plays in that consumption, and whether social media influencers or user-generated content plays an impact on consumption of luxury items. So that was fantastic experience, and in fact we got much richer data from our traditional face-to-face focus group. However, WhatsApp focus group was amazing to establish rapport, to get some insights into questions, much more deep and interesting questions than that we raised later in the traditional face-to-face focus group. So we had 40 participants, But once we started analyzing data using grounded theory, I mean, you can ask me about it later, grounded theory analysis, and I love that analysis because I'm quite analytical person, but then in qualitative research it's hard to be analytical, and grounded theory, which is a three-step stage analytical process, allows you to be, very structural. And not just purely look into narratives and stories, but actually analyze the linkages, identify patterns between things that people are mentioning. So we conducted grounded theory analysis, and we came up with 5 different personalities. So Haley, Hillary, Harriet, gosh, don't ask me, Holly, and Hannah. How do I remember? Why all of them H? I guess because they're Henrys. We thought, all right, let's have them all having names starting with H. But it could be any of us, essentially, if you are Henry and you are conspicuously consuming, you might identify yourself as being one of those. So all these 5 people obviously belong to one family. And within that family, they all love luxury. And they use social media, but to different extent. So let's start with Haley. So Haley is actually one of 3 who is intrinsically motivated. So actually she is consuming luxury conspicuously because, she wants to feel good. And she does go to social media, and obviously she presents her possessions and her identity, her idealized image of herself to her peers, to her social media circles, because she is quite narcissistic. And she's the one who spends 20 hours a day thinking about what selfies to make. And just like in that video about social media, she's the one who probably gets up in the morning, puts a makeup on, goes back to bed, and takes a photo of herself like, oh my gosh, I just got up like this. Or like that guy on the video, who was driving in the car, stopped somewhere in a hill, wore his helmet, went outside. Oh my gosh, a very lovely workout, guys. So fit. So basically, Haley is narcissistic, and still, that allows her to be confident. Of course, that kind of raises questions about her, well-being. What happens if she doesn't have those likes? What happens if she's disconnected from that circle of people? Probably that could really damage her confidence. And strangely, she's not the most well-paid from all these 5 personalities. But she's the one who spends most money. Let's meet second one, Harriet. Harriet, just like Haley, is intrinsically motivated. But then, Harriet is not really into social media as such, because as you can see, nowadays she doesn't really believe in any content or products or brands that are promoted by social media influencers. And in fact, she says that if it is heavily promoted, that will deter her from purchasing those goods. So she's not, using that what Wittgenstein referred in Conspicuous Consumption as bandwagon effect. She's not following masses. She is probably having the snob effect. She wants to have access to a limited, exclusive type of products. But she does it, just like Haley, to have and create and have status. She wants to belong to a certain part of society, and of course her content, her sharing of content with social media circles is about telling how successful I am. And this is why I'm buying those possessions. And this is why I'm in a way materialistic, and she says it. I am materialistic. Let's meet third one, Holly. Holly Hayley, and Harriet are all intrinsically motivated, which is very different to what conspicuous consumption theory suggests. Because conspicuous consumption theory suggests that pure consumer who loves luxury is extrinsically motivated. It's all about showcasing peers what I am, not necessarily telling exactly how much I earn, but my possessions might kind of tell what my wealth is. Holly and Harriet and Hayley are obviously quite different. It is about them, it's about their personality, feeling good, feeling confident, and social media and all these favorable likes and favorable comments allow those girls to feel confident. Holly, as opposed to Harriet and Hayley, she is intrinsically motivated, but she's not really interested as such in any of, I would say, reactions from peers. She's not interested at all. So I guess I am Holly. Yeah, I am Holly. Because, I don't like how many people, I don't care how many people will like my content. And let's be honest, nobody actually sees it. I just posted for my own self-esteem as a kind of collection of purchases and history of content of my purchases, but also as an evidence that, I made it. Come on, girl. You were born in USSR, but now you are in UK, buying all these fantastic items and earning more than your mom used to earn, although she was in oil business. So yes, I am intrinsically motivated, and that results in my direct purchases. I post it on social media, but really it's nothing to do with anyone's, reaction, external reaction to my content and my possessions. And Holly is just like me, although I'm not 24. Next one, Hillary, and final one is Hannah. So Hillary and Hannah, they are kind of very pure, conspicuous consumers. They are really extrinsically motivated. And, you can see Hillary, she wants to have a status, she's very narcissistic, and it's all about telling people who she is in order to be also part of those social classes and groups. So she constantly looks for reassurance that yes, you belong to this group. So even in terms of likes, she does look into who exactly likes her content. I mean, if the guy next door likes her content, it doesn't make a difference to her. But if the guy from Made in Chelsea likes her content, that would obviously make her day. She believes she belongs. So she's really extrinsically motivated to get that social approval from certain groups. And she's obviously narcissistic. As opposed to Hannah. Hannah is extrinsically motivated, so she needs that reassurance, and like from the guy from next door is also good. But she is, it is about getting approval from everyone and telling them that I am successful, irrespective of what groups and statuses they belong to. She is just similar to Harriet. She doesn't really like or trust any longer to any social influencing content on social media. So if it's heavily advertised, she's probably not going to buy it. So what we really realize here is, the theory of conspicuous consumption, 1989, and then 1950, revisited by Liebenstein, obviously is established concept. And they say that, to buy luxury items, we usually are impacted by what peers will think about it. It's all about external effect. How would people think who we are, what kind of group of societies, classes we belong to. Do we adhere to standards and norms of those people? Do we have same type of identities and possessions are part of those identities? In digital world, in today's society, and in in a democratized, very democratized consumer market, obviously we have different experiences now, different journeys. And really, our kind of qualitative research, I guess, is that call for next and deeper study into revisiting that theory and maybe understanding that, motivations are not actually extrinsic, and there is a quite positive correlation between intrinsic motivation and buying luxury items. And also another important thing, I did talk about it, and some of you had a smile on your face. People think those who purchase luxury items are stupid. Are they? Are they really mindless? Are they really, influenced by pressure of society, advertising content and videos of Madonna? Or they do it consciously? If you think about it, most of them do it consciously. They have a certain motive, extrinsic or intrinsic, and they kind of use those possessions and the content to achieve that motive. So this is because in most of the theories and papers, if you read, luxury consumption is actually mindless. But there is some consciousness in this. People know what they do. We are conscious. We know we have that credit limit. We know we need to, buy a house in 2 years' time or 5 years' time at some point. But we still make these decisions consciously. We still go through this linear process of looking into basket of our needs, what options we have, and we think, okay, maybe Louis Vuitton bag, I buy it once, but I will keep it forever. If I go to Primark, I will buy, bag every week because it's not that sort of quality. So you think, actually I'm saving money. I tend to believe so. So something to revisit. And another obviously takeaway is aspirational consumption. Although if you think about it, most of the handlers actually they contribute 67% of profits towards luxury industry. 67. So all these rich guys only contributing 33%. Strangely. 67% infrequent purchases, but it's a mass. These people, because of social media, are all kind of talking to each other and stimulated by their social media circles to conduct those infrequent purchases. So obviously we need to look into that kind of category of consumer. Mostly people, when they talk about aspirational consumer, they talk about, infrequent purchases, once in a life purchases. For example, a honeymoon or education considered to be once in a life purchase. But really, bags, handbags, shoes, and everything else, it also belongs to a category of aspirational consumption. Yes, you can buy maybe once a year that product, but you still will aspire to have a next one. So actually aspirational consumption is not about infrequent purchases. They could be impulsive and they could be frequent with a certain time period. So another thing that you could research in your projects if you wish to. So there's not many studies done, and obviously with millennials, Henrys, there is a lot to work with because we are all aspirational. Today, for example, you aspire to get certain graduate job. And then you think, once I get that interview with Apple, I need to buy a nice top. because I need to go there with a nice talk, and they could feel that, you know, I belong to this class, I am success. So obviously with Henry's, they purchase aspirational purchases much more frequently than we think. But in a nutshell, thank you so much. I hope you will learn something, maybe took out something, maybe decided that I am not a Henry, don't want to be a Henry, or maybe you just don't want to admit. Thank you guys, thank you.